SITREP World Briefing for August 24, 2026. France convened Ukraine's key European backers in Kyiv on Monday to reinforce military support for President Volodymyr Zelensky's government, as Russian missile and drone attacks intensified and Ukraine pushed for more air defense systems. The meeting was described by participants as both a practical effort to secure additional weapons and a political demonstration on Ukrainian soil that major European states still intend to back Kyiv against Russia's invasion. France took a leading role in assembling the gathering, while Ukrainian officials used it to press allies for faster deliveries and stronger pressure on Moscow at a moment when, according to Ukrainian authorities, civilian deaths from Russian strikes have risen. The urgency of the talks reflected Ukraine's warnings that its stock of interceptor missiles is under strain as Russia escalates long-range attacks on cities and infrastructure. Air defense has become one of Kyiv's immediate requirements, according to Ukrainian officials, because it affects troop protection and the safety of power facilities, transport links, and residential areas far from the front. By holding the meeting in Kyiv rather than in Paris, Brussels, or Berlin, France and its partners said the event was tied to concrete requests for equipment, munitions, and broader measures intended to raise the cost to Moscow of continuing the war. The gathering also highlighted how European efforts have shifted from emergency pledges to a more sustained approach to support Ukraine over time. France has sought to position itself as one of the principal organizers of that effort, and Monday's talks focus not only on immediate military aid, but also on how allies can coordinate diplomatic and economic measures aimed at pressuring Russia to halt its invasion. Ukrainian officials argue that delays in supplying air defenses and other weapons can translate into higher civilian casualties and more damage on the ground. Participants said the meeting served as a signal that European capitals are seeking to match political backing with faster, more tangible military commitments. The government of the Democratic Republic of Congo and the M23 rebel group agreed on a roadmap for peace talks aimed at Eastern Congo on August 24th. Switzerland said the two sides had accepted the framework for talks, reviving a process meant to reduce violence in an area where repeated armed offensives have displaced civilians and strained relations between Kinshasa and regional actors. The agreement follows an earlier accord signed in Doha last year. Sources said fighting has continued after that understanding. Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo has endured years of conflict involving state forces, rebel movements, and neighboring interests, and any structured negotiation with M23 carries high stakes for security, access to communities, and the credibility of regional and international mediation efforts. For President Félix Tshisekedi's government, the roadmap offers a chance to test whether negotiations can produce stronger commitments than earlier declarations, while M23 gains another formal channel to press its demands. Switzerland's role indicates that outside facilitators remain part of the process. The immediate question is whether the roadmap leads to substantive talks and verifiable steps on the ground in eastern Congo. A collapse at a major rubbish landfill in Conakry killed at least 30 people after a mound of waste gave way and buried several homes near the site, according to Ghanaian authorities on August 24th. One account put the death toll at 31, while another cited 30, with both attributing the collapse to heavy rain that triggered a landslide at the landfill and sent debris into nearby residential areas. The government had issued eviction orders to residents living near the landfill in the days before the collapse, because officials feared the waste mound could fail, according to authorities. But the slide still struck homes and caused mass casualties. The collapse is likely to intensify scrutiny of Guinea's waste management practices and enforcement of safety orders around dangerous sites in the capital. When authorities identify a high-risk zone and nearby homes remain occupied, the issue quickly shifts from sanitation to governance, disaster preparedness, and emergency response. In Conakry, the immediate focus is on the confirmed death toll, the homes destroyed by the rubbish slide, and whether stronger protections can prevent another rainfall-driven catastrophe. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky rejected calls to hold elections during the war, saying a vote under current conditions would endanger national unity and create security risks. Speaking on August 23, Zelensky said wartime elections would split Ukraine and described the idea as a huge risk, responding to demands from a former minister and political rival as Russia's full-scale invasion continues into its fourth year. Zelensky's argument centers on practical and political barriers to organizing a national ballot, while much of the country remains under wartime strain, with soldiers deployed, civilians displaced, and Russian attacks shaping daily life across Ukraine. In Kyiv and other major cities, the question is not only legal legitimacy, but whether a campaign period could divert state attention, deepen internal rivalry, and complicate military decision-making at a time when battlefield cohesion remains essential. The debate matters because Ukraine's democratic institutions are operating under pressures of invasion, and election discussions touch questions of constitutional order, military morale, and international confidence in the government. By ruling out a wartime vote, Zelensky indicated that his administration sees continuity in command as more important than opening a politically charged contest before security conditions improve. Observers expect that stance to shape Ukraine's domestic political debate as the war continues. Authorities in Nevada ordered mass evacuations on the outskirts of Reno after a fast-moving wildfire spread toward populated areas, with reports on August 24th stating that nearly 90,000 people had been told to evacuate as the fire approached the city. By August 24th, the wildfire had burned about 10,500 acres and was described by officials as completely uncontained, prompting evacuation orders around Reno as crews worked to slow its advance. Video showed the wildfire visible near Reno as evacuation messages spread across affected areas, indicating the blaze had reached the city's outskirts, while officials cited dry conditions and rugged terrain as complicating factors for containment and public safety planning. Sources and the full written briefing are available at sitrepbrief.com.